However, let me stress again, it's never too late. There are around 3.3 million lost pensions in the UK, worth over, wait for it, £31 billion.
But most people will probably use a combination of both approaches.
Do you ever dream of the perfect retirement? That was me dreaming of a beach, a sunbed, the sea, and a pina colada. Now that dream might feel pretty close, right? But then you might look at your pension pot and a little bit of panic might set in. You might be asking yourself, am I doing enough to get there? And if I'm not, is it too late? I might be stating the obvious here, folks, but let's get one thing straight. Building a comfortable retirement is not easy, but it's absolutely crucial. And it does all come down to something called effort and compounding. Effort you can bring to the table. Compounding is all about investment. What does it mean? Well, it means that your savings start earning money and that money starts earning its own money on top of money. But if you feel like you've started late, don't you panic. We get it. We talk to people every single day who feel the same. The great news is you absolutely can still make a difference. But another bit of stating the obvious, you do need to make a decision on whether living for today is more important than your future. And if it is, what compromises you are prepared to make for that better earlier retirement. Planning for retirement and when to start. Well, of course you want to start in your 20s, and if you're watching this and in your 20s and 30s, please save a little bit more. I certainly wish I'd saved a lot more in my 20s and 30s instead of spending it all. A young saver might have to put aside a surprisingly small percentage of their income to build a very significant pot, whilst somebody starting in their 40s and their 50s will definitely have to play a lot more catch up. However, let me stress again, it's never too late. It's never too late to plan better and, more importantly, plan smarter. Even small amounts saved later in life can boost your retirement income significantly. Even if you're 50 and you put £100 into a pension, you're not going to spend that £100 at 60. Let's assume that £100 could be spent at 70 or 75. It's got a long time to work, that particular £100. You have to think of it that way. And perhaps most importantly, you have to make better, well-informed decisions. It's no secret that the more effort you put into something, the better the outcomes. That applies to pretty much everything if you think about it. Think about your own lives. What are you very good at? I bet you've put loads of time into it. Sports, playing music, your career, passing exams, and certainly relationships. And retirement planning as well. The more effort you put in, the better. But you need to act fast. Stop procrastinating. Just do it, as Nike said. Get with getting some proper advice. Take control, find out what's possible, and if there is a gap in your planning, let's work on closing it together. Why save into a pension? Well, this is probably the best reason to save into one. It's called tax relief, and it means your savings build quicker than you might think. Now, there are limits to how much you can save into a pension and still get this awesome boost from HMRC. And let's face it, it's not often the government gives us tax back, is it? In very basic terms, you can get tax relief on the equivalent of 100% of your salary up to an annual allowance limit of £60,000. That's current tax year, 25-26. Now, when you're in your 50s, particularly if you're aiming to retire nearer 60 than 70, these may well be your last working years. Think about that. Your last chance to really contribute to your future. Because once you retire, you're going to start spending your money, not saving it. So you really do need to get an effective saving strategy in place. And remember, it might be your health that decides when you have to retire. You might not have the choice. So please get proactive with your planning. Okay, let's tackle the big question. How much do I actually need to retire comfortably? And by how much, do we mean how much income or how much total savings? Well, the honest answer, as you're probably going to expect, is everybody is different. There are plenty of rules of thumb out there, though. Personally, I don't love them because they're not particularly scientific, but they can give you a starting point, and that's okay. For example, the pensions regulator suggests that aiming for a retirement income of about 67% of your pre-retirement salary is a good starting point. What's that mean? Well, if you earn £50,000 a year, you might aim for a pension that pays roughly £33,500 a year. And don't forget the state pension. If you've paid paid enough national insurance for 35 years, the full new state pension is currently £230 and a few p a week, or just short of 12 grand a year in the 25-26 tax year. The next step is understanding the income you'll actually need to live the lifestyle you really want. A really helpful guide here is the Retirement Living Standards, which estimates what life in retirement might cost at 3 levels. Minimum covers basic essentials, moderate gives a comfortable lifestyle, and comfortable allows you more discretionary spending, travel, flexibility, and generally just more fun. Now, based on the 25-26 figures, the minimum level is around £14,500 a year for a single person, or £22,400 for a couple. Moderate rises to £31,300 for a single person and £43,100 for a couple, whilst comfortable comes in at £43,100 and £59,000 respectively for a couple. Now, most people retire as part of a 2-person household, which helps share the costs, of course, and your state pension can cover a significant proportion of these outgoings if you are together. 24 grand there or thereabouts as a couple. That is nice for a lot of people as a good grounding. But everybody's situation is unique, which is why tailored advice will make a difference. It'll certainly make you feel more certain about what your retirement's going to look like. And an independent financial advisor, an IFA, which is what we are, can help you work out realistic income levels, see where any gaps might be and when they're likely to occur, and very importantly, suggest some practical steps to close those gaps. Now, through a free financial review, you can map out a plan, you can build a cash flow forecast, and you can get some personalized recommendations which are going to give you confidence about your future. And yes, I know I do keep mentioning it, but it really is that useful. Now, starting late or being faced with the how much do I need question with retirement on the horizon is the cause of massive anxiety for lots of folks. I'm going out on a limb here and I'm going to suggest that if you're in your 50s without complete certainty about what's possible, you need to pull your head out of the sand and you need to put some effort into changing that. It is never too late. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and probably loads of times in the future. You've got to take control, and it's never ever too early either. Retirement's going to sneak up on you, believe me, because life will get in the way. So if you're watching this, well done. You're doing something right, but please don't stop now. Let's take a look at some practical steps you can take to keep up that momentum. Why don't you start with something very simple and easy? Go and check out your state pension forecast on gov.uk. That'll tell you how much you're due and when you're going to get it. You'll usually need 35 years of national insurance contributions for the full state pension, and you can often buy back missing years if they're needed. It's usually worth it if you're in good health, but best to wait generally until you're closer to state pension age, just in case the rules change, or bluntly, life changes, or hey, maybe you win the lottery and you don't need to really worry about it. Next, map out your career. Which employers offered a pension and did you join that pension? There are around 3.3 million lost pensions in the UK, worth over, wait for it, £31 billion. So tracking your pensions down could be well worth it. They might be in there somewhere. We've got links in the description to some tools that might help you find those old pots. Go and check them out, they're down there. Now, once you've found them, check the value of each and what type of pension they are. Defined benefit, final salary, or defined contribution, which are investment-based pensions. They're the two main types. Now, finally, get advice. Consolidating investment-based pensions is often the first step in taking real control of your retirement plan. Now, we specialize in helping people decide if it's the right move and have plenty of videos and a detailed webinar with a real client case study to guide you through it. Links in the description. Let's talk about time, because it's one of the most powerful tools when it comes to retirement planning. The sooner you begin, the more opportunity your money has to grow. Now, workplace schemes. If you're employed, make sure you're enrolled in your workplace pension and make sure you're making the most of employer contributions, because that's free money going into your retirement pot. Matched contributions. Let's talk a bit about that. The standard legislation requires your employer, assuming you're a member of their scheme, of course, to contribute 3% to your pension and for you to contribute 5% to get that 3%. The magic figure is 8%. Now, some employers will actually match any extra that you put in, usually up to a maximum. So, for example, if you up your contribution by another 5%, your employer might put in an additional 5% too. Go and find out. If you're self-employed or you're not eligible for a workplace scheme, you can open a personal pension and pay in directly from your bank account.
So thanks to tax relief, the government adds to what you contribute, and it's a really powerful way to boost your savings, so please don't ignore it. Give you an example. If you're a basic rate taxpayer and you're paying £100 English, the tax relief increases that to £125. Do £10,000, That's £12,500. Do £100,000. £125,000. That's massive. Salary sacrifice is also a very good option for saving extra into your workplace scheme. As not only is there that tax saving right off the top of your wages, but you also don't pay national insurance contributions on the sacrificed contributions, which is nice. That's more money in your pocket. Actually, more money in your pension. We can help you understand whether this is a good option for you during the free review if you would like one. And remember, pensions aren't the only option, although we love them very much. ISAs can also help your money grow in a very tax-efficient way. You don't get that tax relief, but there's lots of other info on why that's great online and in some of our other vids. Now, some of this I've alluded to earlier, but generally, if you've left it later to start, the reality is you may need to save more money than someone who began earlier. I think that's common sense, but I thought I'd point it out anyway. But don't underestimate small changes. Even increasing your contributions a little bit each month, as I mentioned earlier, it can add up significantly over time. You should also think very carefully about how your money is invested, and people usually overlook this, which is criminal. Funds that include shares, technically referred to as equities, tend to offer higher potential for growth over the long term, but they do carry more risk. And by risk, in today's world of regulated funds, certainly the funds we utilize, means the degree that the funds fluctuate in value. I'll say that again. Risk really means the degree to which the funds fluctuate in value, up and down. Cash, for example, does not go up and down in value every day, does it? If we look at your Building Society statement on a Monday, and on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, it'll be exactly the same. But equities, however, absolutely do go up and down, and they will forever, unless we're all hit by a meteor, in which case it's over anyway. Low-risk investments like fixed interest funds, cash or property funds, there's some things to look up on ChatGPT if you wish, they fluctuate less in value on a daily basis, but over the long term would be expected to underperform equity-based funds. Now, as nobody knows which type of asset or fund will perform best over any given time period or what the world will throw at us next, a balanced investment mix is generally sensible. A diverse mix of holdings, for example. But what's right depends entirely on you, your goals, your ability to handle volatility, and your timeline to needing to access your investments. And lastly, not all investments were created equal. There are thousands and thousands of regulated funds to choose from in the UK, and as an IFA, we have access to everything that an IFA can access. And they've all got different types of asset in them as well. So investing in different geographic reasons and with different investment objectives and different styles of investment management is all really important. It's not easy to get it right, folks. Now, as you get closer to retirement, the focus often shifts from saving to spending, or more accurately, planning how to spend and how to draw an income from your pension and your other investments. You don't have to start taking money out as soon as you reach the age legislation currently allows as well, which at the moment is 55, rising to 57 in 2028 for anybody born after April 6th, 1971. Generally speaking, you should only access your pensions when you need to, and only ever when you are absolutely sure about the impact of doing so. Having a plan for how and when you'll take your money can help ensure your savings last as long as you need them to, and very importantly, you pay as little tax as possible in the process. Now, I enjoy saying this next bit, so I'm going to say it. The less tax you pay, the wealthier you will stay. Tax in the UK is probably our biggest enemy over time, so you must pay attention to it. And there are a few main options to consider. You might choose income drawdown, where your pension stays invested and you take an income when it's needed. You might take it monthly, you might take it quarterly, you might take it yearly. Of course, you might also just decide to buy an annuity, which provides a guaranteed income for life. In the olden days when I started in the financial advice business, annuities were pretty much all you can do, but the world's totally changed now. Most people these days go for drawdown. But you might use a combination of these approaches actually to give you security and flexibility, and mesh together, you have a great solution. Now, in the old days when I started in this industry in 1996 was my first job as a financial advisor, all you could really do was buy an annuity. But the world's totally changed out, and you've got loads of different options. You've got loads of different annuity options as well, and you've got drawdown. But most people will probably use a combination of both approaches. But the right option depends on you. It depends on your needs, your health, and your appetite for certainty versus flexibility. Now, as you'd expect, we have a video covering drawdown versus annuity, and the link is down there in the description. Go and check it out. Now, the single most important takeaway from this video is this: it's never too late. Every day delay makes the goal harder, of course, but the small actions you take right now can dramatically change your future. And of course, we're here, we're ready to help if you'd like. Knowing the strategy is one thing as well, but seeing it work in practice in another. The real challenge is making the numbers fit your age and your existing savings. So for example, if you've only got £100,000 saved, what does your retirement actually look like? Of course, that largely depends on how old you are, but we've broken it down in a real life case study, so click here. I'd like to see you there.